Our next speaker is Dr. Rev Osaghae. Dr. Rev Osaghae is a professor. He is a professor of comparative politics and the current Vice Chancellor of the Nigerian University of Okada, Nigeria. Before his appointment at the university, he was leader of the Program of Ethnic and Federal Studies funded by the Ford Foundation, director of the Center for Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Ibadan, and also the chair of the university's Senate Curriculum Committee. He was a Rockefeller Reflections on Development Fellow and was more recently conferred a MacArthur Fellow. Professor Osaghae has published over 100 articles in books and learned international journals, writing extensively on ethnicity, federalism, governance, and state politics. Amongst his award-winning works are Federal Character and Federalism in Nigeria and Crippled Giants, Nigeria Since Independence. He's speaking today at the platform on the topic, First Things First, Growing the Economy on Something. Please join me as we welcome to the platform Professor Osaghae.
Good afternoon. Please sit. Thank you. Now, I thought we should be reminding ourselves where we ought to be starting from. There's been so much talk about everything, but where to start from. So that's why I thought we should be talking about taking first things first. You cannot grow an economy on nothing. There's a new word in town called financialism, which actually means making money from nothing. All you need is what we've been told here, ideas, and more ideas. And when you have ideas, not only rule the world, you become very rich. But you're drawing from an empty well. And for as long as the chain goes on, what you call value chain, everyone is going to get rich. That's the hope. But we miss it all if we don't start with the foundational things. So I thought we should go back to foundation. Now, part of the foundation is I've listened and I like motivational talk. When people motivate you, they fire your imagination, and it's as if even the sky cannot limit you in anything you do. We've been told here today, and we all know it, that Nigerians are very smart people. That's good for young people to hear. Every young person who's here is fired by that serious imagination. When you live here, you're motivated. You must be the Serena Williams of the world. You must be our sisters of the world. That's fantastic. But please note, that's a note of caution I like to put as a footnote here. The smart Nigerian is a positive reference. It's not a negative reference. So you don't leave this place saying, why not me? There's a huge number of young Nigerians that are involved in ritual killings today. And the reason they are doing that is they are also smart people. There's a huge number of young Nigerians today who belong to the Yahoo generation. That's also being smart. Many of us become criminal just because we have been told that smartness pays. That's not the kind of smartness we are talking about. I want to anchor that. Pastor Quadru, thank you very much for inviting me. I like the audience. My own imagination is fired because it's only in my university I see this concentration of young, eager, and zealous people. So, I congratulate you because I know now more than ever before that there's hope for our country. There's hope. So, we're going to get somewhere. I was even more fired in my imagination when I listened to the passionate and lusty manner in which you rendered the Nigerian national anthem. The two verses. I didn't know everyone knew the second verse, but wonderful. You guys were so passionate. And what I saw in you is what I see on the faces of our sportsmen and women, especially our footballers, when they go out there to take on Brazil. Okay? Those that know how to sing the anthem, sing it very well. You can see some closing their eyes like, we're rearing to go. But do they win every match? Now, when you see the British team rendering God Save the Queen, it's a battle cry. It's actually a hymn in the Church of England. Okay? God Save the Queen. That when she goes out there carrying England on her shoulders, God must save her. It's a battle axe. That's God's battle axe. So when the guys sing it, God save you, when they have come out of singing it, it's like they are ready to kill. But do they win every match? What this tells us is that it's good to be passionate, it's good to be zealous, but you need something more than the necessary. You need something else that is sufficient to make that. And that's what I want to talk about today. Let me fire your imagination a little further. In the early 1980s, Nigeria led the rest of Africa to produce a document called the Lagos Plan of Action. Now, that was a document that spelled out how Africa understood development and how Africa intended to develop. That document said that development is not something that people do for other people. It is something that people desire themselves, and even if we are not in a world of autarky where every person is independent and autonomous, the people take control of their development process. So they talked about self-sufficiency, they talked about autonomy of action, they talked about self-determination, and they insisted that if development is going to be meaningful for Africa and for Africans, it must be a process led by Africans themselves. That's the Lagos Plan of Action. In the 1980s, we had the Structural Adjustment Program, which the Bretton Woods institutions sold to us. In 1985, the Economic Commission for Africa, the United Nations body in Addis Ababa, put together experts and said, can we formulate an African alternative to structural adjustment? And they did. Led by Nigerian scholars, we produced an African alternative to structural adjustment, telling the world that we also know the dynamics of economics, and we can assess them using our own frameworks and paradigms. We don't want to be led by the rest of the world into things that you teach at the Kennedy Government School. We want to have our own sift. We want to have our own lenses. Don't lead us by the nose. Now, that seems like several centuries ago. Where are we today? We go to the President of the United States of America with a wish list saying, you know, we want you to do the following for us. Come and build our bridges. Come and help us with our railway. Come and help us with this. We address conference after conference in Paris, in London, in Geneva, all those places. What are we telling them? We go cap in hand saying, you know what? We want to be led by international best practices. Come and develop us. Do you see how we have come? Do you see where we are now? We are a people who have lost our bearing. Look, thank you, Pastor Poju. You know, I like the things you say about the man who emphasizes the primacy of politics. This is Aristotle all over again. Aristotle says politics is the master science, and every person that must come to govern must be tutored, and knowledgeable in the arts and science of politics. In fact, he says, if you don't know politics, you cannot rule justly. Okay? Now, Plato took it a little further than that. He talked about the need to have quality leadership. He says, let us give leadership to the class that he calls the class of the philosopher kings, the most knowledgeable in society. Let them intermarry. He says, there is no society that is going to be governed justly if you have people ruling you from outside of the class of the philosopher kings. Now, that's another matter for another day, but thank you for bringing us back to the primacy of politics. The point here is this: how have we come to where we are today? I'm going to suggest three things. The first is the more theoretically profound one. Okay? And then we'll take the things that take their bearings from that theoretical position. Look,